Okay, Damien, it's Matt Giggs and the Damien Jefferies show. It feels like we're in a radio interview today, doesn't it?
I've never, ever heard my voice like this
It sounds
before.
insane. Now, for the listener, they won't have a clue what we're talking about, but we are going to talk about London. We're going to talk about brokerages, AI today, what is actually happening in the market. So Damien Jefferies, Jefferies Brokerage in London. I'm in your hub today.
Yep,
In
the
Fulham?
hub, in our radio hub.
It's like a little studio
It's
now, isn't
amazing,
it? This is
isn't
honestly. But I look around here. This is going to be insane, and you've put a lot of work into this, and it's a great location as well.
It's definitely something we put together for the brokers, right? So this is all of the things that you get as part of the brokerage. You know, I don't believe that brokers work if they work from home. They need to be in a working environment. They need to come in. They need to collaborate. Collaboration is a massive thing for what we do. So yeah, let's see. So we've only been here a week. So
and we've only just hang on. Look, so I'm going to be flicking between Damien and I. Look, there you go. So if you are watching this and I'm speaking
and it goes haywire,
then it's just our first time out, so you have to forgive us. So the audio hopefully is all working good, but we're going to talk about London.
Yep.
What the hell is going on in London in the property market?
That is such a big question, because where do you want me to start? How long have we got?
Well, let's start in the different levels. So is super prime literally, is it as challenging as we hear, certainly around the central areas?
Well, definitely, of course. I mean, it's been challenging ever since the tax regime changes. There are transactions happening, as you know. I do believe that, you know, good agents in this climate work. You know, I've always said sell for £1, buy for £2. You know, you just got to work the market.
Yeah.
And that is a market I prefer to work in. You know, who wants to work in a market where you can literally put a property on Rightmove and you've sold it? So, you know, to be a broker, especially as well, because prospecting stock that's on the market, all that kind of stuff. You need the market to be a little bit difficult. If the market's great, it's almost impossible, because there is no secondary stock, or the primary stock sells by the first agent.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at the big agents are the ones that tend to get the listings first because of all the amount of money they spend on marketing, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, this isn't a terrible market for who people are working in the brokerage model if they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's you know, training is key.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you find though, we were talking off camera or offline, and the difference between the high street agents and their mindset entering the brokerage world.
Yeah.
So, you know, certainly when you look at that end of the market, the super prime market, I'd imagine it's about the black book. It's about the people that you've worked with over the years and how you can actually maintain some kind of income in that top end, because you're seeing there's not many deals a year that are happening around the central areas, are there?
Look, I think relationships are one thing, and those relationships only last if you get results, right? I hear a lot of people banging on about, you know, these long-term black books, these relationships I've had for years and building relationships. However, every high net worth I work with, if you don't come up with the results, they will drop you like a stone, right?
They're brutal, right?
Of course.
I was just listening to one of your stories this morning about the fact that these billionaires are fighting over £50,000.
Of course. And if you don't get the result, and if you don't negotiate that £50,000 situation right for them, you're gone. So I think there's a lot of skills in terms of like the technology that we use today. AI we'll touch on in a bit, and how much we've invested in AI. Because it just gives you the edge to keep getting the right results. Yeah. Without results, those relationships are not going to last very long. And if you switch from a high street model that has given results to that client before, and you now go out into the brokerage world, and 3 months later you haven't got them a result, you're not going to last.
Forget it. And I was talking as well just before that. So it's the mindset of an agent who's used to probably having the opportunities presented to them in the nicest possible way. So they've got a listings book, they've got a brand that attracts clients in that particular part of the market. And all of a sudden, when you take all of that away, what are you left with?
Exactly.
And what do you need to go and do?
Exactly. Because it's a seller's market, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's a buyer's market. And because it's a buyer's market, you can't rely on normal things like traditional things as Rightmove, Zoopla. You just can't. You've got to actually physically go out. You've got to create social media. You've got as much engagement as possible, as many channels. And again, price it right. Do all of those right things. Again, using tech to help you price things correctly and have an argument for somebody why it should be marketed at this price, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm quite happy to wait 3 months, 6 months. Come back to us when we can have a conversation, because that's typically what happens in the market, especially in prime central London.
Yeah, and I think when I was when we met last with Ollie Howard and we'd done a podcast before Christmas, that was
Brilliant.
good. That was great fun, by the way.
Fantastic.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And we were talking about mansion taxes and the possibilities of the thresholds and all of those different things. What have you seen across your market in that sort of 2 million and maybe below?
No, nothing. I don't think it's not really affected. The thing is transactional. The amount of transactions that are happening is very hard to turn around and say that's made a big difference, because the buyers are low on the ground. So, and they're buying because they have to buy and because they need to for whatever reasons. Those are the transactions. So I couldn't really tell you whether that's had any effect yet.
Yeah.
I mean, still our market is massively affected by stamp duty. All right. So
That's the big one.
international buyers, 19%. 19%. Most
insane.
people, I even have clients that don't know it's nice. So they go, oh, why have you not sold my house for X? Well, stamp duty is 19%. Don't be so stupid. Stamp duty is 19% in the high threshold for international buyers.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
I've always banged on about that. Stamp duty is what has slowed the market down. It's stopped fluidity through the market. It's something that seriously they need to look at. If they want to regenerate the housing market, it's all through stamp duty, because there's no fluidity. It's killed it.
Well, there's a lot of wealth leaving the country. There's a lot of wealth leaving maybe London to a degree.
Yep.
And that's one of the big factors, certainly in the property cycle. And what the property does for the economy, the property cycle does for the economy is incredible. And it just seems a very, very backward way of thinking to not actually consider how can we make this work better so we can get things moving, it just makes such a big difference to everybody. So coming back into the sort of brokerage space, which is where you sit now.
Yep.
I think you've got about 20 brokers.
Yep.
in your space.
Brokers.
And tell us a little bit more about the differences between the brokers that are really doing, pulling up trees at the minute, and the ones that are really struggling to figure out how they can operate in this climate.
See, this is another bugbear of mine, that I just think all brokers should come and work in a hub.
Yeah.
I feel that working environment, I'm old school. I like the idea of getting up in the morning, like back in the old days, putting your suit, your tie. I used to iron my 5 shirts for the week, right? My mum used to iron my shirts for the week. So that's what you get up, get in the office and that whole environment. And I still think that's the same. We've got, the brokers that come to the office every day do very well.
Yeah.
The brokers that don't. And it's that simple. I mean, I haven't yet to see a broker that works from home that can compete at any level with the brokers that come in the office every day.
What stops them? If that's as transparent as it sounds, what's kind of holding people back? Is it I don't know, what is it, a lack of prioritization? Is it they just don't really buy into that? What's stopping people?
I wish I could answer that question, because you would think that if you are a self-employed broker, that you would be more motivated, wouldn't you? You'd think to yourself, I'm self-employed, I got to get to the office. No, right? It's again, and I'm not sure whether this is people coming from a high street model to the brokerage world, because I still think there are two very big they're totally different roles, different jobs. You've got to be proactive. You're not relying on a brand to get you to get your listings. We've always used to, in the old days, where you'd go out with a valuation pack, right? And do all those things. I don't remember a broker going out with a valuation pack to pitch against 4 or 5 other agents. Yeah. It doesn't happen. The broker is a bit more dogfighting, right? So you see something's been on the market for 6 months, hasn't sold, you contact the owner. You're already halfway down the process. So it's just a very different thing altogether. Yeah. And I think there is, I was saying to you earlier about somebody that we've got a broker here that's currently still at university. Came on 3 months ago. We do a 30-day sort of kind of an intense program with all the different things that how to act as a broker. Very different to the high street model, in my opinion. And is doing fantastically, to the point, as we were saying, she's just got a listing at 18 million. Now, I can't remember I've ever seen an estate agent after 3 months in the job that A, was given the responsibility to go out and even look at a property at that level, and come back with the keys. I mean, that's just that's unheard of. However, in the process of recommendation, by being very proactive on a relative's property, that led to, you've been fantastic. Let me speak to my parents, because my parents have got a property they'd like you to go and have a look at. And just by being that proactive has led to that kind of listing, right? So for me, that's so exciting.
Because there's a little bit of there's a difference of opinion whether people should have experience joining a brokerage, not necessarily yours, but across the country. Should agents be doing it if they've got less than 2-5 years experience? But what I'm hearing is the more experience can often be the more dangerous.
Harder to change. They don't want to change, especially if you've been a high flyer in a high street office and you come on as a broker.
Roast duck flying into mouth.
Exactly.
Just sitting there waiting for the opportunity.
Exactly right. Exactly. And it's very, very different. So I think that when the brokerage world started, you needed to have a black book history. You know, if you're the first broker that ever goes out into the world, right? You're going to need that kind of, you're trying to make changes. Forward wind, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years potentially has the brokerage model been running now, I would have thought, when it first started. Now there's training on how to be a broker. Now those things have been put together. Now there's tech that's evolved that helps the broker that didn't exist. So all of a sudden it's becoming a different role. It's a different job altogether.
So it's more about the person's drive, their attitude, what they do, the ability to pick up a routine and actually, put that structure into their day. Because if you don't, you've lost a day. Completely. If you lose a day here, that's an opportunity to not connect with so many people.
It's almost going back to the original benefits, right? So I think the high street guys sometimes forget what the benefit. They take it for granted that you have Rightmove, you have Zoopla, you have all. They just take all of that stuff for granted. Now, if I take all that away from you and say, right, now go and feed yourself, you've really got to start thinking about it. So when new people come on board, they probably don't even know what Rightmove is, right? So some of the young new brokers we have, Rightmove, what's Rightmove? What's Zoopla? What does that do? How does that help me? Or how do these things help me? So it's now a learning process from the start. Jesus, I get that, and I can do this, and I can. You're joking, and plus I've got an AI system that backs me up. Blah, when do I start, right? But then you get the traditional high street agents like, it's just
it for me.
It's just a very different mentality.
Do you think that that's where the opportunity is then?
Yeah, for sure. Because in prime central London, I don't know statistically. However, I do know a lot of good agents that have moved from high street to brokerage model. A lot. Yeah. Enough to affect the businesses of some very well-known high street agencies. So, there is a movement, unless it all goes wrong and they all ask for their jobs back, right? And say, I'm really sorry, this didn't work for me, but can I have my job back? But I just don't think they will, because a lot of these guys have been super successful. They're earning money like they never earned before. They're running their own lives and they're running their own businesses. And why would you go back from that? So I just think it's a matter of time. I mean, Knight Frank now have just launched.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah, they've just launched their brokerage model. Stratton Parker have launched their brokerage model. Whether it's a real 100% brokerage model.
Are they paying like a base salary? And I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but
I think it's all. If I can use the word hybrid, it's something that kind of works. But again, this for them, they're starting today. Some of us have been doing this for some time. We've hit these hurdles. We know we've been sailing this uncharted waters for some time now. So we kind of know what works and doesn't work. They're starting now. So I kind of feel like you're behind it. And unless your whole mentality is we're going to start this process because we are looking to become a brokerage model in the future, then fine. But they've still got quite a process to go through to see how this is going to work.
Do you think it's a defensive move?
Yes. Personally, I do think it's a defensive move. I think there is a big... sexy has been put back into estate agency, right? So that's
well, we're good examples of that today.
Exactly.
Just look at the two of us on camera here. Look,
doesn't mind a bit of grey hair now and then.
The two 50-year-old guys having a chat with a pair of headphones on each. But no, I think it does feel like I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't really understand exactly what they're doing, so I'm commenting off of speculation. But it feels like it's on the back foot, not the front foot.
100%. 100%.
Like they want to hold on to people. They maybe want to attract people back in who have left. And again, who are you attracting back in if they've left and been unsuccessful?
If you work in an environment where your friends, after a while, your friends are all agents, you're all the same, and then all of a sudden you've got lots of your friends who have gone off into the brokerage world.
Yeah.
They're going into the office when they want to go into the office. Yeah. They're doing things where they want to go on holiday for a month. They go on holiday for a month. They just did a big deal and earned 70% of the commission, right? Yeah. And you're working in a high street model, and you took home whatever you took home that month, and your friend's out there, he's having a fantastic time, or she's having a fantastic time, and you're not. How long is that going to last? Because the more and more brokers there are that are being successful, and there are some people doing fantastically in the brokerage world, you're looking to these people thinking, God, I have to be in the office by 8:30 in the morning. Some of them are still having to do call outs between 10 and 12 and 2 and 4. And you're like, and all of those structures, and they're not making much money, because I don't think the high street model pays a lot of money, to be honest.
What are the what are the agents, not the brokers? What are the agents? The average earning for a London agent, if you like, typical agent in the area, would 60, 80 grand a year, 100?
I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot. As a typical negotiator, maybe some managers potentially, but the negotiators, 50. 50, yeah. 20 basic, 10% of, and you do 300 grand a year. And I still think 300 grand a year is probably not bad, that you'd be in the top end of the negotiators. 50,000. So you're earning 50K a year. There are brokers that are making that kind of money a month.
Yeah.
It's a different world. So when you're in that same, friendship group,
and someone's taking home 150 grand.
150 grand in this month.
Yeah.
And you got 5 grand or 4 grand.
Yeah.
You can see the difference. Now, when we talk about putting sexy back into it, there's nothing nicer than your friends are like, they buy a new car, they're going off to the Maldives the weekend. Oh yeah, we're in the latest gear again, and all that kind of stuff. Back in the, what was it, the 80s, 70s?
Yeah,
when were they?
Yeah.
When were they? The yuppies driving around with mobiles.
Yuppies, the 80s.
Selling Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yuppies. Yeah.
It's all coming back, mate. It's all coming back.
Yeah.
Drop head Porsches and all sorts, and Louboutins. Let's not forget the Louboutins.
So it feels like that is the cream, like rising to the top, because of the opportunity that's out there at the minute. So if you are a stellar, really good, driven, ambitious hunter, really get the fact that I need to go out and make calls, go to networking places, hang out here, hang out there, referrals, making sure that you're onto every single opportunity, you're in that top 10%. Do you feel like they're the ones that are going to hold the cards in the market?
No, because I think, look, the top 10%, I know, again, people talk about there's only 10% of the brokers making it, but I think that's kind of changing, and I think it's changing because the training's changing, the tech's changing. I mean, it's certainly in our group, it's not 10%, far from it. I think last year, every single broker did a deal. So every single broker within Jefferies London last year sold a property, right? You hear these stories where people have been doing it for a long time, haven't sold anything, but everyone sold one. So in their own right, they were successful. Almost could say 100% if we looked on the basis that every single broker did a deal. And because of the training and because of these things, we have to think of that as the future of the business. Yeah. We don't just say 10% estate agents sell houses and the other 90% do nothing, do we? No. So as this changes and as this more and more people swaying into the brokerage model, you say it's the top 10% cream. Consistency is key, what we do, okay? And if these guys are taught how to be consistent the right way from day one, they are no different. There's what's the difference? Your black book dies in 6 months.
Well, that's one of the points you've made, and I think I've really kind of latched onto that, the black book theory.
Yeah. It
does feel like if you've got the exposure that you're looking at today, where you can reach people, where you can target people, the black book really is feeling more irrelevant.
It's irrelevant because I've said for ages, data. Like when we started as agents, right, our boss would give us sheets and sheets of like people that had registered in the last 50 years, right? And say, call through these numbers. Half of them were dead, right? Like you're sat on the phone. You're
still doing that in some places.
Still doing that. I love that. Yeah, they are. I know they are. So they are. And you're ringing and ringing and ringing. And after a week, you find a potential lettings opportunity that's got an offer on it. So you stand a chance. Of, So, but now forward wind to where we are today. all data is available, right? If I want to, I don't even flyers. I don't see the point. I don't see the point in dropping 30,000 flyers, right? For me, digital prospecting at the right time, is for me is key, right? I think that's so old data is irrelevant because all new data is hit to tell. And not only do you have to filter the data, we have AI that filters that data for you and shows you what's the best opportunity of the day, right?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what you've been doing here at Jefferies with regards to the AI agent.
Unbelievable. My best friend, Jesse.
Jesse.
Unbelievable. So we started this journey, probably 18 months ago now.
I do remember you telling me near enough at the start.
Yeah, 18 months ago. Made loads of mistakes along the way.
What's the best mistake?
Best mistake was Christmas Day morning at 6 a.m.
What happened?
So I called the guys and said to them, look, whatever you do, please just make sure Jesse does not call anyone on Christmas Day or Boxing Day, right? I was like, please do not, whatever happens. No, don't worry, it's all sorted. He's not going to call anyone. 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm at home. Phone starts. I think the kids had probably woken me up at 4, but anyway, the phone rings 6 in the afternoon. And it's buzzing, and I'm thinking, oh God, something's happened.
Yeah, because you're not going to get that on Christmas Day morning, are you?
6 a.m. 6 a.m. Right, Santa Claus is stuck on the roof or something. Right? So anyway, so I look at the phone, and there it is. One message after another and after another. And what happened was Jesse had been told not to make any calls on Christmas Day or Boxing Day. But anyone who'd spoken to who said, I can't talk right now, call me back, he had diary noted to call back at 6 a.m. on Christmas Day morning. Like, why would you choose 6 a.m. at any day? But anyway, he's decided.
Yeah, that's
6 a.m.
memorable.
Hundreds of buyers. Right? Oh, he's calling through. So I'm getting messages from, how dare you? It's 6 a.m. in the morning. Take me off your list. I never want to use you again. Blah, 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 blah. Vendors, potential vendors. I mean, he was going for it. He was having a wild of a time. Christmas Day morning.
He's literally just calling everyone.
He was chatting away to everyone. Because remember, he can make 5,000 phone calls in one go. Right? So it's not like he's sitting there calling through everyone. He just went, oh, there's 300 people. Hi, morning, Jesse. Merry Christmas. And the message was, and a message that he created was, instead of scrolling through Rightmove today and eating mince pies, why do you talk to me about the mice smell?
Oh, no.
Can you imagine 6 a.m. in the morning? So,
no.
funny enough, there was a few people that were like, oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Because we could listen to all the messages. There was a lot of effing and blinding. But there was some people
What was the best one?
Wait, I can't even remember. they were definitely not right for this podcast.
No. But how did that feel when you what did you do at that moment? How do you stop that from?
I think mentally, I dealt with this by saying, if you are going to lead something in life, if you want to make a difference, you're going to have to go. It's never, if we were the first people to create an AI that had the ability to do call outs and do all of those things, of course we were going to make mistakes, right? And I think at the beginning when we were making mistakes, I was like every buyer is so precious and we can't afford to lose any buyers. And the brokers are looking at me like, you've just lost me a buyer on my phone and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think we all got on board.
It's the bigger picture,
It's the bigger picture. And we all got on board with it. So even the hardened agents here that would love to kill me because I lost a buyer for them, they got on board with it. And they were like, brilliant. Do you know what? We actually are trying to change. And look, whether people like AI or not, it's the future. I mean, it's even now, most people I know respond in emails by quickly running it through AI. Have I presented this properly? Sending, they've been using descriptions, changing descriptions. But now the AI can have a conversation like you and I are having. Yeah. And there's no difference. Yeah. Funny enough, I was in your neck of the woods recently and I was driving back last Saturday and I've got a Tesla. And in Tesla now, Grok is in the car, right? Oh my God. And the power in the car was telling me to get home, I'd be on 0, right? So I thought, what am I going to do? So I pressed I brought Grok up. I was like, hi, Grok. Oh, hi, Damien. How are you doing? Liana wants me to turn it off. But every time she's out of the car, I go, hi, Damien. Right? And so I said, Grok, am I going to make it home? What about, let me check for you, Damien. And she's like, oh, we'll be on 0%, but let me see what I can. Then after a while, I thought, I'm going to call Jesse. So I called Jesse for an hour. I had a conversation with him all the way home about everything.
So you could just continue to add to his knowledge? Or?
Yeah, so he's learned, but also obviously he's using the internet at rates, like to read any conversation, things like that. And sure, sometimes I can get him to change his opinion by him just doing bits and pieces. But You're literally, how do I cook a certain type of food? How do I do this? When's the next flight from so-and-so? When literally he is just a whole mine of information from. So yeah, going back to have there been some fun times with Jesse, there has been some unbelievable times, but we're pushing forward. Everyone might hate us by the end of the year, but we're pushing forward.
No, there's a blanket ban on being on your database.
I mean, he has booked viewings that have led to sales.
You were just answering the question I was going to ask, really, which is, we've heard the downside.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the upside.
So he cross sells, which is the most important thing. So there are some things in the brokerage world that do need to change, and things need to change. Like, it's my listing, and if it's my listing, no one else knows about my listing unless you come to the office and you're in the hub and you're listening to what everyone's doing. But so things like having the ability to have something or an AI that cross-sells. So he can read every single property that we have on the books, and that's updated by minute. So every minute he's completely up to date. Price changes, anything. Wow. So if you call up and say, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom house in Chelsea for, I don't know, 5-6 million quid, he will then literally scan what we have, on market, off market. He'll say, if you rang up particularly about, say, a specific property, and he'll tell you all the details and say, whilst you're on the phone, can I WhatsApp you the other properties that we have similar to this? Sends them through to you. And how many people say, yeah, actually, I'd like to see that one as well. Can you arrange that for me? No problem. And he arranges it in the diaries, sends the diary invite to the broker, sends them a message of the recording that they've just had with the client. They said, so they've got a transcript of the complete conversation. It's all done for them. Yeah. And he has been cross-selling and selling those houses where they've gone from, and they probably would never have cross-sold. No. They never would have, one of the brokers would never have said, oh, my colleague's got one of those houses around the corner that matches the same requirements. Let me show you that, because they obviously want to sell their own listing.
Scary, though, isn't it?
Scary.
But on that side, just what was interesting there is, I suppose, does the client know or suspect that it's an AI agent? I'm guessing not.
Sometimes, yeah, I think they do, because he's too polished.
Yeah.
And he'll even say
too perfect.
Too perfect. Like, he's actually, the way he does everything, says everything. But he also, so if you have a conversation,
the client probably doesn't give a shit, because if they're getting more help, more advice, more suggestions, more offers,
make less of a shit as the days go on, right? So at the beginning, we have charts that just show, like, hang up,
straight away, as soon as they get the sense of it.
Conversation. And that is slowly but surely rising at quite a rate as well, because it's not just real estate where people are using AI.
No.
There are people using AIs all the time now. So let's forward wind 5 years' time from now. In 5 years' time, will the trust element even change? Will they trust an AI more than they trust a human being? It's possible, right?
I think it is possible, yeah.
People will be like, can you put the AI on the phone?
Yeah, I'm going to get more sense out of that.
And you want something done, you just want to talk directly, you want to just say, I want to go view that house, no problem, let me book you in whilst you're on the phone. Like very well structured, rather than somebody that's all over the place, no idea. I mean, the reason we did this, and I think we discussed this before, but we had brokers that were driving a car, answering the phone, going, God, hello? Hello? Oh, yeah. Well,
trying to deal with an applicant.
Right? God, so after listening to, as we all have Rightmove calls that make us all cringe in our seat, how many Rightmove calls have you listened to and gone, oh my God, did we really say that?
Yeah.
By listening to those Rightmove calls and other calls and all the incoming calls, and then you listen to the AI, even his biggest mistakes don't get close to people saying, hang on, dropping phones and all the rest of it. Yeah, oh, that's not my listing, get someone to call you. Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's scary. What was going through my mind is the banks. You know, you ring a bank, it's just a fucking nightmare to try and get through to anyone. I've got different accounts with different businesses. Anything, even trying to order a card sometimes, it's just a bloody mission. So you always think, well, the situation with Rightmove sharing data around how many leads are not picked up by agents, not dealt with by agents, that all disappears, right?
Yeah.
Because it's true.
I think the reality is that people still see it as a bot, right? And you're right. And I think that's why it started off where people are going, oh God, human. I want an advisor, you would do. So you call up your bank and you're like, yeah, give me advice or all that.
Yeah.
But those days are gone, right?
Yeah.
Jesse, if you say to Jesse, advise, or he'll say, you okay? Can I help you? Is it, he's not a bot. No. He isn't. So again, this is a mentality shift. The banks are changing. So the banks are using old systems that have a structured response to whatever question you have, and if it doesn't match that, it doesn't know what to do. Now you're talking about a different world.
A bit like Rachel Reeves. It's a bit of a sort of malfunctions.
Exactly, malfunctions all over the place, right? But the reality is we don't say you can only talk about those 10 things. Like if you say 3, go to 2, and if they say yes to 2, go to 1. No, Jesse's free to say what he wants and how he says it, right? To a degree, right? So you bring the walls in on Jesse, not train. You don't teach him. You just bring the walls in. Like he always goes back to real estate. So if you call up and say, how do I cook a turkey dinner? He'll tell you and say, anyway, how about I sell you a penthouse where you can cook that turkey dinner? I've got this, and this. So he always reverts it back. But he's having a conversation like you and I are. He is not a bot. And I think as more and more people are using AI and more people are having conversations with AI, the whole bot mentality is going to disappear. That's going to stop because people are going to get more and more and more and more used to it. I'm not saying it's going to replace our agents, but it is going to support them so much in terms of our brokers are out prospecting whilst the AI is doing the selling for them. Is calling the buyers, ringing through the database, offering them their new listings, arranging viewings, taking the calls on their stock. All of a sudden, it's becoming an amazing support system for them.
And that's fundamentally where you're moving faster and faster ahead of the likes of, obviously they're big companies, going back to Knight Franks and that kind of, those establishments, if you like. Their biggest challenge is the agility, the ability to
and control.
It's control. Because they've got such a, their brand guidelines, there's a lot of fear, I'd imagine. There was a video someone shared with me the other day about some guy having a right old rant about Savills. I can't remember what it was all about, but he couldn't get hold of anyone. They sent someone round who didn't know the property to do the viewing. He was really, really, really upset, this guy, and he had a pretty big house as well. Because I feel like what I think people are missing the point around AI is the heavy lifting.
Yep.
It's the heavy lifting. It's speed of response. So clients are getting actually not just something, but they're getting someone listening to them, asking questions, engaging, following up. And to be honest, if you've got that going on in the background and you've got the right people on the front line doing the job of having the humanistic conversations that are needed, then it's a pretty good place to be going towards.
And always the same, right? So always he's not going to wake up one morning because he'd been out the night before or, whatever it is. It's not, it's Saturday morning. I'd rather be doing
Christmas Day, mate.
Yeah, Christmas morning. Apart from Christmas morning. But usually he's always, he's like, hi. Well, that's the problem with my Christmas morning. 6 a.m. Hi, how you doing? Not like, hi, morning. Hi. So he's always the same. Everything is the same. Very, very, a great support system, I think. And a long way still to go. I think there's still, what we should do is a podcast and bring him in. So I have actually done a podcast with Jesse in the podcast where he will literally be there.
Mate,
you have a full-on 3-way conversation. As you and I are asking me questions, you can ask Jesse the same question and he'll give you an answer. Exactly the same.
We're going to have to do that.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Soon.
We'll set it up.
Because I love that. Because there's moments with me. We've got AI in the business and stuff, and there's various ways in which we're developing ourselves. But 18 months, are you seeing the speed of change in an AI in itself, in the way in which you're building your language model, your Jesse, how quickly he's learning and developing?
Totally different world.
It's just insane, right?
Different world. We're at Jesse 3.0 now. So he's the 3rd generation for us. So we've gone 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And it's just now speaks 100 languages. Started off 60, now 80, now 100. Can speak all different dialects. Can start to, it's if you think about just that alone, working in the prime central London market, and we have an AI that can talk any language about any property, give you any real estate advice, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. just that tool alone is impressive, let alone he can book viewings, do call outs, check your register, look at your data, find out what literally give advice to vendors what their property is actually worth based on data that he's taking out, market trends and but in a second. You want to know the market trend and where this is going to be in a few years' time based on what's happening around your certain area in your house and the way your garden faces, and I can give you that answer in a second? Or am I going to spend 24, 48 hours studying, analysing, taking bits of data from all different systems?
So much time has been lost over the years.
Completely.
Our agents, though, before we cut off today, and this is a part 1, by the way, guys, because part 2 is now going to be with Jesse.
Yep.
So this is part 1. So we're going to close this down shortly. One of the biggest shifts in our industry, I feel, was probably Rightmove and its introduction in the late 90s, 99, 2000. And the years that followed were very similar in terms of skepticism.
Yep.
If someone's emailing them, they're a waste of time. If they're not calling in, if they're not walking in, they're a waste of time. Emails were a waste of time. Because it will always, obviously, Rightmove were sending leads across.
Find a property, wasn't it? For Rightmove?
Yeah.
Way before. It was Find a Property days for us. And what was the one?
That was
prime
loads.
location. If you were a prime location agent, that was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah. Do you remember it all used to be about how many portals you had?
Yeah, of course.
That was your USP.
Yeah.
And most of them, no one had a fucking clue what they were doing. But just coming back to that, it made, I feel like, as it got closer to that peak period of 2007, certainly between 2003, 2007, Rightmove was becoming very important to agents.
Yep.
It took them away from doing some of the work.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, by 2007, maybe onwards to 2020 or whatever, but like you go into most businesses, if you took Rightmove away, they're fucked.
Sure, 100%.
I look at AI and my initial thoughts are, yes, it's going to do all of these brilliant things, but are agents just going to get even lazier because they're not doing the stuff that they should be doing, or should they be doing it?
Exactly, because what's the future, Matt? I get it, right? So I come from
I'm just kind of in that dilemma at the minute.
Because it's going to change, right?
Yeah.
Relationship building, as we discussed earlier, yes. Yeah. But the alternatives, right? There are more alternatives, faster alternatives, different ideas. The systems are moving at such a rate that, yes, you're right today. But in 5 years' time, will we be doing the job completely differently?
Yeah.
Will we?
Do you think?
Well, yeah.
I think we're going to be, aren't we? Let's be honest.
We already are.
Moved in just the last 5 years.
We already are. Yeah. Completely doing things completely differently, right? And listen, we don't rely on Rightmove anymore to sell houses. Yes, we do sell property on Rightmove. Yeah. And of course, it's a lever to pull that I need to pull sometimes, okay? Yeah. But we aren't just selling on Rightmove. If you went back, I don't know, 5, 10 years, it was Rightmove. Yeah. Like your whole marketing structure, your process, what you were going to do, the marketing price falling onto the certain levels within Rightmove, your drop-down boxes, and how did it compare to other properties on Rightmove? We a lot of us, and we're all guilty of using Rightmove as almost as a marketing tool, right? The last thing we do is we start off with a off-market process on every listing we take on, right? So every project that comes on, we start with an off-market 4-week process. So our go-to isn't Rightmove.
No.
So forward wind again, like I'm saying, in a few years' time, with the use of AI, with all these other different things, we will be doing this job a lot differently, whether we like it or we don't.
Agreed. And I think that's a really good point to end on. Really good point. And I'm really looking forward to meeting
Jesse.
Yeah,
and Jesse will love it as well.
And have a really great conversation. That's going to be insane.
Yeah, so think of some amazing questions. So you can ask literally anything. Ask any question. Think about some great questions, right? And we'll bring him in. Funny enough, the guys that built it the other day saw that we'd built this podcast room here in the office. And he was like, right, when are we doing it with Jesse? When are we getting Jesse involved? So there's no reason we can't have Jesse here on the screen with us, talking in a 3-way conversation. Idea. And you can ask him where he sees the market going in 5 years. You can ask him how he thinks of the brokerage model. I might have programmed him a little bit about that one. But anyway, yeah, about the brokerage model and how better it is than the high street model. But yeah, definitely.
We're going to do that.
Great.
Thanks so much for letting me spend some time with you this morning.
It's always a pleasure.